Discover the heartwarming story of a homeless man's last aid that inspires 300 bikers to line up. On a bustling street corner in downtown Chicago, Charlie, a humble 45-year-old veteran, sat on the pavement, his weary eyes watching the world rush by. In his pocket, he clutched his last aid barely enough to scrape together a meal. But Charlie wasn't one to dwell on his sparse means. He was a man of kindness, often seen sharing his last crumbs with the street kids who laughed and played near him. Their innocence and joy lit a spark in his otherwise gray existence. Each giggle made the cold, hard pavement feel a bit softer. That sunny afternoon felt different. With a quick decision, Charlie bought steaming hot dogs, the aroma wafting through the air, drawing the attention of the kids nearby. As he handed the food out, their delight filled him with warmth. It was a small gesture, really, but for Charlie, sharing his food felt like sharing hope. Little did he know, a group of leather-clad bikers roaring down the street was watching. They usually passed him by, ignoring the old man on the street, but this time something tugged at their hearts. "Look at that guy," one of them said, his voice rough like gravel. "He's got nothing, yet he's feeding those kids." The bikers exchanged glances, their tough exteriors faltering for just a moment. Among them, a seed of curiosity began to germinate. Who was this man who could find joy in sharing what little he had? As the story of Charlie's generosity spread, it sparked an unexpected movement within the community. The bikers began organizing a charity ride, driven by a newfound sense of purpose. They battled between their preconceived notions and the undeniable reality of Charlie's humanity. Were they doing this for him, or for a chance to ease their own guilt? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The bikers threw themselves into planning, eager to make a difference, yet haunted by their own pasts. They learned of Charlie's hardships, abandoned by family, wrestling with loss and isolation. And still, they forged ahead, though each step felt like wading through the muddy waters of their own biases. But the charity event didn't unfold as planned. The skies darkened unexpectedly, and a fierce storm washed away their decorations, turning their efforts into a tangled mess. Charlie, unaware of their struggles, began to feel the weight of despair settling in again. It appeared as though their plans to uplift him would be stripped away, much like his scraping by day after day. Just when hope felt lost, a pivotal moment emerged in a dimly lit garage, where the bikers gathered to collect their thoughts. Raw stories spilled out, each tale of struggle, loss, and redemption threaded them together in unexpected ways. In that small space, they discovered the heart behind Charlie's kindness. They were not saving him, they were saving each other from the judgment that had clouded their vision. As they prepared to unveil their plans to honor Charlie in the community gathering, a shared sense of purpose filled the air. The question remained: could Charlie finally feel the warmth of acceptance, or would the shadows of his past continue to loom over him? As anticipation built, the community stood ready to embrace him, teetering on the edge of a moment that could shape their lives forever. The day of the gathering arrived, bathed in a golden light that felt almost magical. People began to fill the park, each face a blend of curiosity and compassion. Some knew Charlie from his spot on the corner, others heard rumors of his kindness. The air buzzed with chatter, laughter, and the sound of motorcycle engines revving in the distance. Charlie had been invited, of course. But he stood hesitantly at the edge of the crowd, gripping his worn cap like a lifeline. The colorful streamers and banners fluttering in the wind felt too vibrant for his muted existence. He listened as people spoke with excitement about the event, their enthusiasm igniting a flicker of hope in him. Did they really care? Or were they just being nice because someone told them to? As the gathering opened, the bikers rolled in, a powerful convoy that echoed through the park. Their leather jackets glistened in the sun, brilliant against the greens and blues surrounding them. Charlie watched, heart thumping. He remembered how they had once seemed distant, intimidating figures on roaring machines. But now, they looked like a family arriving home. With an air of ceremony, the bikers parked their motorcycles and began to dismount. Among them was Jack, the one who had first noticed Charlie feeding the kids. He stepped to the front, clearing his throat as the crowd quieted. "Today, we come together to recognize one of the toughest fighters I know," he said, his voice steady. "Charlie has shown us that humanity can thrive even in the darkest corners." Charlie felt heat rise to his cheeks. He wanted to duck away, to disappear into the shadows. Yet here he was, a man in the spotlight, his heart hammering as if trying to break free. As Jack continued, the bikers gathered around him, creating a protective bubble of warmth. "We stand here not only for Charlie," Jack declared, "but for everyone who feels lost and forgotten. Today is a reminder that kindness can spread like wildfire. And today, we show Charlie he isn't alone." The crowd erupted in applause, echoing off the park's trees. Charlie's hands trembled. People were cheering for him, a man who felt invisible just days before. It was a rush of emotion he hadn't anticipated. Tears welled in his eyes as he finally stepped forward. "Thank you," he murmured, voice thick with gratitude. "I don't know how to repay you, but I want you to know you've changed my life." That vulnerability, hanging in the air, was palpable. Everyone sensed the weight of his words, a band of strangers forming a community right there. Then Jack stepped closer, a glimmer of mischief in his eyes. "We thought you might like to share your story, Charlie. The mic's all yours. Let the world hear." Laughter mixed with shouts of encouragement rose up around him. The collective spirit surged, electric and filled with hope. Charlie tentatively accepted the microphone, heart racing as he stared at the sea of expectant faces. For the first time, he sensed that he mattered. But as he opened his mouth to speak, a distant rumble of thunder broke through, heavy clouds gathering ominously above them. Gasps filled the air. Was the storm returning to spoil their moment? Could this gathering turn from joy to chaos? Could Charlie weave his story into the hearts of this newfound family before darkness descended? The answer hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of a stormy heart. Would the clouds bring rain or opportunity? Charlie grasped the microphone tightly, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on him like the impending storm overhead. The roar of thunder was a stark contrast to the joyful cheers surrounding him. He could see the hopeful faces in the crowd, each one waiting for him to speak, for him to share a piece of his soul. As a breeze picked up, rustling the leaves and stirring the banners, Charlie inhaled deeply, attempting to calm the wild thump of his heart. I don't know where to begin," he stammered, uncertainty creeping in. But the crowd remained silent, their encouragement a steady hum of solidarity. He took another breath, feeling the warmth of their belief surrounding him like a well-worn blanket. "When I first came to this park," he said slowly, "I was just trying to survive. I didn't think about tomorrow or the next day." He paused, scanning the faces. "I thought I'd always be alone." A woman in the front row nodded, her eyes glistening. A couple of kids began to chat softly, excitement lighting up their small faces. Charlie knew he had to keep going. "But then I met some kids. They would come by and well, I shared what little I had. Food, stories, love." A soft murmur rippled through the crowd. They understood, they felt the warmth in his words. Charlie continued, encouraged by their presence. "I never expected it would lead me here. I didn't expect anyone would care enough to gather like this." Just as he began to feel a sense of comfort, dark clouds began to release raindrops that danced on the nearby pavement like tiny diamonds. People instinctively reached for the nearest umbrellas, their movements punctuated with laughter and shouts as they scrambled to cover themselves. But beneath it all, Charlie's voice soared over the din. "Thank you for believing in me even when I barely believed in myself," he cried, his voice rising with each word. The rain intensified, yet the crowd remained, refusing to let the elements spoil their moment. "What I learned is that kindness is powerful. It can change lives, maybe not in grand ways, but in small, beautiful moments. Jack caught his eye and smiled, a beacon of support. The bikers stood, resolute against the rain, some laughing and clapping, shouting words of encouragement. Their bold spirits drove away the gloom that threatened to engulf Charlie's heart. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of lightning split the sky, and a collective gasp swept through the spectators. The moment froze. Charlie's breath caught. Would they flee, abandoning him to the storm? But when he looked out, he saw determination etched on their faces, light spilling between the raindrops, merging with the warmth of their emboldened spirits. This was not just a storm, it was a breakthrough. "You've given me hope," he shouted, a smile breaking through his fear. "Together, we can reach others who are lost, who think they don't matter. I want to help show them they're not alone." The spirit of the crowd surged again, their cheers mingling with the rainfall. Charlie could hardly believe this was happening. The storm might rage, but they stood together, a fortress against darkness. As Charlie lowered the microphone, feeling the raw power of the moment wash over him, the thunder rumbled again, but deeper this time, stirring a different kind of anticipation within him. What would they accomplish together? A wave of exhilaration washed over him, sparking even more determination, but just as hope rose within him, he felt a gentle tap on his shoulder. Turning, he found a little girl, soaked but undeterred, holding out a makeshift donation box, little pieces of crumpled bills and coins they'd been collecting during the gathering. "For you," she said, eyes shining. Charlie took the box, stunned, as a new storm brewed in the depths of his heart, one of possibility. Would these small beginnings mean something larger than he ever dreamed, an even greater calling waiting just beyond the rain? Charlie looked down at the little girl, her bright eyes reflecting the flickering light of hope. He took the donation box from her tiny hands, feeling its weight as if it held not just coins, but dreams and aspirations. "Thank you," he said, his voice nearly lost in the clamor of the rain. A lump formed in his throat, and for a moment, he could only nod, struck by how even the smallest gesture could ignite something larger than himself. The girl beamed up at him, her curls plastered to her forehead from the rain. "I told everyone we should help," she exclaimed, her cheeks flushed, not from cold but from excitement. "You're not alone anymore, Charlie." In that instant, something shifted within him. It was as if the storm outside had merged with all the storms he'd weathered in his life. The heaviness that once threatened to crush his spirit now felt like a crucible, shaping him into something stronger. The crowd was no longer just a sea of faces, they were allies, each one willing to stand against the downpour, against any storm. With renewed courage, he raised his voice again, and this time he felt the electricity of connection in the air. "You all understand what this means, don't you? It's not about me. This is a chance for all of us to come together, to create something beautiful." A cheer erupted from the crowd, a sound rich with hope and audacity. People from various walks of life, families, writers, workers, students, shared a simple desire to make a difference. He scanned the faces before him, each one filled with determination, a silent promise for the future. "Let us use this." Charlie held up the donation box, feeling its weight. "Let us turn this into something bigger, a movement. We can start by helping others right here, right now. There are people just like I used to be, waiting for someone to show them they matter." The crowd roared their agreement. He felt their warmth, their enthusiasm almost tangible as the rain cascaded around them, as if the very sky itself was cheering him on. It was exhilarating, terrifying, and utterly beautiful rolled into one. But just as adrenaline surged through him, a voice in the back called, "What's the first step?" The question hung in the air, waited with urgency. Charlie's heart raced. What was his plan? He hadn't thought that far. But suddenly, fragments of ideas swirled in his mind, coalescing into a vision. He saw the park filled with life, community events, food drives, outreach programs. He envisioned friends mingling, sharing meals, a network of support blossoming where despair once lingered. "Let us organize a community meal," Charlie blurted out, his voice steadying with confidence. A gathering right here. We would invite those in need, share food, stories, show them they're not alone. We can be that light for others. Cheers erupted once again, and the energy surged like a current through the crowd. The bikers who had once seemed rough and tough now joined in, suggesting starting a collection or cooking a barbecue, spurring ideas that bounced back and forth like an invigorating game of catch. As laughter mingled with the rain, Charlie looked around him. The joy was infectious. His heart swelled. But before he could lose himself in the details of the plan forming, he noticed the little girl still standing by him, now holding onto a soaked teddy bear. "And I want to help too," she chirped. Charlie felt tears prick at his eyes, realizing that they were all part of something greater. Just then, another crack of thunder echoed, but it felt different somehow, more like a drumroll to what lay ahead. Would they truly be able to pull this off? Could they turn hope into action? As the crowd became a whirlwind of excitement, Charlie found himself pulled to the front, compelled to lead them into this uncertain future. Would the rain persist, or would it clear, unveiling their first steps into a world renewed by kindness? As the rain fell heavily around them, Charlie felt the pulse of energy in the crowd. The little girl's laughter filled the space, cutting through the gloomy weather like a ray of sunshine. "I can bake cookies," she shouted, her teddy bear clutched tightly under her arm. The thought of cookies sparked several murmurs. A bearded man with tattoos smiled and exclaimed, "I can cook up some chili. We'll set up a whole feast." Charlie nodded enthusiastically, feeling the kaleidoscope of community ideas swirl and dance. "Yes. Yes. That's it. We'll have a potluck. Everyone, bring what you can." The laughter rippled through the crowd, and then someone in the back yelled, "How about music?" This turned into a flurry of suggestions: bands to play, guitars to strum, melodies to lift spirits. Amid this whirlwind of plans, Charlie's heart raced. He felt alive, connected to this vibrant patchwork of humanity. His mind buzzed with the details that needed managing: locations, food supplies, safety, outreach. But for the first time in a long while, those thoughts didn't weigh him down. They were like puzzle pieces falling into place. As the crowd shared ideas, the rain began to taper off, turning into a gentle drizzle. The soft patter on the pavement felt like nature's applause. "Let us meet back here tomorrow," Charlie shouted, his voice clear and strong. "We'll organize everything we need: volunteers, everyone and anyone come together to plan this." The crowd cheered, their excitement palpable. A family hugged each other in joy, and a group of teenagers huddled to brainstorm ideas for decorations. Suddenly, the simple donation box in Charlie's hands felt like a treasure chest, a symbol of their collective aspiration. Each coin they contributed wasn't just for a meal, it was a step toward restoring dignity and connection. As Charlie observed the crowd, he noticed a woman standing a bit apart. She had a heavy coat pulled tightly around her, her face partially obscured by the hood. She looked wary, casting a questioning glance at the gathering. "Hey!" Charlie called out to her, his voice cutting through the excitement. When she turned to face him, he continued, "You can join us. Every hand matters." Her eyes held uncertainty. "But I don't have anything to give." Charlie stepped closer, the crowd trailing off as they sensed a moment of vulnerability. "You've already given by being here. Your story, your presence can inspire others." Something shifted in her gaze, a flicker of warmth. The crowd's collective encouragement filled the air, edging her gently to join. Charlie smiled wide. He saw a reflection of his own struggles in her eyes. How many times had he doubted the value of his own contributions? Let us create a place where everyone can offer what they have, whatever it is, and build together. As the sky cleared, the sun broke through the clouds, bathing them in golden light. It was like a spotlight on the moment's scattered puddles, shimmering as if they were tiny mirrors reflecting hope. But as the crowd began to disperse, Charlie felt the weight of the future looming. Would they truly embrace this movement? Would they hold on to each other when challenges arose? Just then, the little girl tugs at his sleeve again. "Can I help you plan, Charlie?" Her sincerity tugged at his heart. "Of course," he replied, kneeling to her level. "When you believe in something, you can make it happen." And as he embraced the momentum stirring around him, the question danced at the back of his mind: what unforeseen challenges awaited them as they journeyed down this path of hope? Would they be prepared to rise together when the storm returned? The next day dawned bright and clear, the sun pouring over the town like melted butter. Charlie stood at the meeting point, excitement thrumming in his chest. Each smile that passed by helped ease his nerves as he prepared for the congregation of ideas. Slowly, the crowd gathered. There were faces he had seen yesterday, and some new ones too. The bearded man with tattoos waved, flanked by neighbors bringing homemade dishes. The little girl skipped up to him, her teddy bear bouncing against her hip. "I brought my drawings for decorations," she announced, pulling out crumpled papers, proudly displaying stick figures with wide smiles. "Those are perfect," Charlie exclaimed, beaming back at her. As she beamed, it felt like a secret bond was forged between the two, hope and joy embodied in her tiny hands. The air buzzed with creativity. Volunteers started to split into groups. Some discussed logistics over folding tables, while others brainstormed decorating ideas. Charlie stood back, watching as strangers created connections. A network of kindness formed right in front of him, and he quietly savored the moment, yet as the smiles multiplied, he caught sight of the woman from the day before. She hovered at the edge of the crowd, still in her heavy coat. Despite the warmth of the day, she seemed unmoved. Hesitation flickered across her face as she scanned the jubilation unfolding before her. "Hey!" Charlie called again, his heart urging him forward, wanting to reach her. "We'd love to have you join in." She hesitated before taking a small step forward. "I am not sure how to help," she mumbled, her voice nearly lost in the laughter around them. Charlie walked up to her, determined to offer the same warmth he saw spreading among the others. "It's not about what you can do, it's about being part of something." He gestured towards the lively discussions and laughter. "We all have a place here, including you." As his words settled, he noticed something in her expression, a shift. The caution in her eyes softened, if only a fraction. "I don't know if I can help, but you've already helped just by showing up," he encouraged, remembering his own fears. "Even if you just share your story, it could mean everything for someone else." After a moment, she nodded slowly, stepping closer to a gathering about making chili. A wave of relief and elation surged through Charlie. It was a small victory, but one that ignited something deep inside him. As they tossed around ideas and shared recipes, the atmosphere grew more vibrant. Laughter and energetic voices mingled in the air, each contribution serving as another thread stitching hearts together. The community was alive, pulsing with possibility, and it felt powerful. Just when things seemed to settle into a rhythm, a roar broke through the joyous chatter. Motorcycles began to roll into the park, their engines grumbling like thunder. Charlie's heart raced. His mind spun. Was this part of the plan? The sight of them filled the atmosphere, each biker sporting leather jackets and a fierce gleam in their eyes. He watched, torn between excitement and concern. The crowd hushed as the bikers stopped. One by one, they dismounted, revealing a sea of friendly faces that looked eager to help. Charlie stepped forward, his pulse quickening. "What brings you all here?" he shouted over the engine noise. A burly man with a bushy beard stepped forward, a gentle smile was plastered on his rugged face. "We heard you're throwing a feast. We couldn't pass up a chance to help out." Charlie felt a tide of warmth wash over him. It was more than he had ever hoped for. But in the back of his mind, questions stirred about how this all could fit together. Was it possible to merge such different worlds into one? And as the day unfolded, preparing for a feast that would not just be about food, but unity, Charlie wondered if they could truly bridge the gap, embracing each other's differences while creating something beautiful. But deep down, the question lingered: could they hold on to this connection even as their own lives outside this moment beckoned them to separate again? As Charlie gazed at the bustling crowd and rumbling bikers, he felt excitement and trepidation bubble together inside him. What would tomorrow bring when they all gathered to combine their strengths? The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue over the park as Charlie stood surrounded by the expanding crowd. Laughter echoed around him, the blending of voices creating a symphony of hope. The bikers exchanged stories with the families, sharing their own recipes and traditions. The boundary between strange and familiar slowly faded, much like the evening light. Charlie felt a flutter of joy at how the day was unfolding. People were laughing and mingling, kids raced around, their art scattered on tables, and the scent of chili began to fill the air. But that initial excitement was still mixed with an undercurrent of anxiety. How would this all come together when the sun set and real lives crept back in? In the midst of conversation, he noticed the woman from earlier, now fully engaged. She had shed her heavy coat and removed her guarded demeanor. It was beautiful to see. "I didn't realize it could feel like this," she whispered to Charlie between bursts of laughter. Charlie smiled, his heart swelling. "It's just the beginning. Wait until you taste the food we'll share." But before she could respond, the rushing sound of a drumroll pierced the festive air. A group of children had commandeered a few empty soda cans, banging away with sticks, creating a makeshift percussion ensemble. Their joyous rhythm called everyone to attention. "Let us have a talent show," someone shouted from the crowd. The enthusiasm was infectious. Charlie glanced at the bikers, who responded with spontaneous cheers. The bearded man grinned, his expression a mix of amusement and anticipation. "Bikers can do more than just ride," he declared. The energy erupted into action. People began to gather around, forming a makeshift stage. One of the little girls from earlier stepped forward, trembling with a combination of self-consciousness and excitement. Charlie saw the same light in her eyes that shone in his. "I want to sing," she announced, her voice a sweet note in the din. A look of determination crossed Charlie's face. "You can do it. We're all here for you," he called out, echoing what he had told the woman earlier. The crowd erupted into supportive shouts and claps, instantly lifting the girl's spirits. As she took a deep breath and launched into "This little light of mine," Charlie felt his chest tighten. Her voice was soft yet strong, and the crowd fell silent, enraptured. The bikers nodded along, their fierce exteriors now gleaming with pride and encouragement. There was nothing but love and support in that moment, but just as the girl finished her song amid wild applause, her eyes darted into the crowd, searching for something. Or someone. Charlie noticed, too, and as the excitement pulsed around them, a shadow of doubt swept across her face. "What's wrong?" Charlie asked, stepping closer. "I want my dad to hear me," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper, her smile faltering. Charlie's heart sank. Is he not here?" "No," she said, her eyes glistening. "He was supposed to come." At that moment, the sky darkened slightly, and a chill swept through the crowd. She stared at the ground, her little hands clenching into fists. The joy around them suddenly felt fragile. Could they hold on to this moment when one of their own felt the sting of loneliness? Charlie hesitated. What could he say to lift her spirits? Before he could organize his thoughts, another roar pierced the air, this time from a motorcycle revving loudly nearby. As its rider approached, the crowd turned, curiosity written on their faces. Just like that, the girl's expression shifted. Could it be? "I know that bike," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with disbelief and hope. Tomorrow still loomed in Charlie's mind, a reminder of the uncertainties they faced. Yet for this moment, hope bubbled around them, and perhaps there was a chance to weave together the stories of all who stood here today. What would happen when the door to their reality swung wide open? Would they embrace it, or turn away? Charlie felt the weight of the question hanging in the air, as he watched the girl's anticipation grow. Just what awaited them might change everything. The motorcycle roared closer, the powerful sound vibrating through the air. Children gasped and adults turned, eyes lighting up with curiosity. Charlie's heart raced as he watched the rider navigate through the crowd. The girl's face transformed, doubt giving way to disbelief. Was it really him? The biker's leather jacket gleamed in the fading sunlight as he parked the bike and swung his leg over. The crowd parted with a mix of excitement and fear, uncertain what to expect. "Dad!" she cried out, rushing toward him with all the speed her little legs could muster. Her voice broke the tension like a wave crashing on a shore, and Charlie's heart swelled with a blend of hope and relief. The man knelt down, a broad smile spreading across his rugged face. It was clear he hadn't seen her in a long while. "Honey. I'm so sorry I'm late." He scooped her up into his arms, and she clung to him tightly, the earlier shadow of disappointment melting away in the warmth of their reunion. Her giggles rang out, loud and full of pure joy. Charlie smiled, a heartfelt emotion washing over him. This was what the event was about, wasn't it? Creating connections, rekindling bonds. He felt a rush of inspiration rise through him. As the crowd erupted into cheers, Charlie stepped back, soaking in the scene. Families crossing thresholds, strangers becoming friends, deep-seated fears flickering out like fireflies at dusk. The good vibes reverberated around him, and he could feel them stitching together the community he so desperately wanted to foster. "After my set, you were supposed to join me for a chili feast," the girl exclaimed, her face lit up, still clinging to her father. "I wouldn't miss it for the world," he replied, still holding her close, exchanging glances that held promises of stories to be told and laughter to be shared. More performers took the stage, and the atmosphere of pure connection thrived. Charlie breathed deeply, absorbing the magic of the place. As the night fell and the stars twinkled above, he was struck by something profound. "We come together, we laugh together, we cry together," he whispered to himself, reflecting on how a single moment can change everything. But then a distant sound reached his ears, a low rumble, incompatible with the cheerful talents of the crowd. Charlie turned, a frown creasing his forehead. What was happening? Wasn't this space meant to be filled with happiness? A group from the outskirts began to make their way in, faces shadowed and expressions grim. A couple of them held signs that looked worn and weathered. As they approached, the mood of the gathering shifted. Charlie felt a knot of anxiety spring back to life inside him. Would this new presence threaten what they had just built? He scanned the faces around him, the girl now dancing in her father's embrace, the bikers still pumping each other up with support of their own. But it was more than just discomfort. It was a question: who were they? Why were they here? The crowd began to murmur, apprehension rippling through the joyful air. Charlie's heart raced. Did they know who they were facing? Because he could sense that this moment held more weight than it let on. What would happen when the edges of joy collided with the truths of their lives? The night was no longer just a celebration, it had the potential to unravel into something deeper, something they hadn't prepared for. As Charlie took a step toward the newcomers, he wondered what lay ahead. Would they rise to the challenge or retreat into the familiar? Would this be the end of the joy they had fought so hard to create? The atmosphere hung thick with tension as Charlie inched closer to the newcomers. He could see the signs they were holding, words that wanted to be heard. "Help us and stand together." The colors bled into the warm night, stark against the festive decorations. Murmurs of uncertainty began to swirl around the gathering. Faces that had lit up with joy now wore expressions of confusion and concern. Charlie felt the color drain from his own face, as he tried to make sense of this abrupt shift. "Everyone, please!" he shouted, raising his hands to quiet the crowd. His voice struggled to cut through the heightened anxiety that hung in the air. The rumble of the motorcycle engines now felt distant, as if even they sensed the brewing storm. He didn't want division, not tonight. Let us hear what they have to say. With that, a man stepped forward from the group. His eyes held a blend of sorrow and determination. "We're not here to ruin your fun," he started, voice strong yet shaky. "We're here to share something important. We've been going through hard times, just like many of you. Charlie listened closely, his heart thrumming in his chest. The desperation in the man's voice resonated deeply. He could see a few mothers hugging their children a little tighter, the essence of protectiveness rising to the surface. The speaker continued, "We are a community too. We are facing challenges that keep us awake at night, hoping for better days. We want to connect, to join this celebration." A ripple of surprise spread across the crowd. These newcomers weren't here to take away joy, they were here to ask for understanding. "What do you need?" Charlie asked, stepping even closer, propelled by the need to bridge the gap. The crowd shared a collective breath, waiting for the answer. The man hesitated but then continued, "We need support. A chance for a meal, a safe space, just like this. We want to thrive as part of this community. We want connection." Skepticism flickered in some eyes, but curiosity battled it, too. Could they bring their story of survival to a place of joy? Were they worthy of that? "Let us at least listen," voiced a woman near the front, her brow furrowing but her heart clearly open. "Maybe we can help." She leaned into the spirit of togetherness, and others joined her, nodding in agreement. Charlie felt the shift begin to take shape as voices from both sides started to weave together. People began stepping up, sharing pieces of their lives, intertwining joy with pain, creating a tapestry of resilience right before his eyes. It still echoed in his mind, "We want connection." That was it, wasn't it? Underneath every plea and every interaction, the human need for connection was the thread stitching them all together. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a newfound energy crackled in the air. Charlie watched as conversations began, laughter replaced tension, and the shared experiences converged into something powerful. Perhaps this night would become a turning point, but Charlie still felt a weight settling in his chest. Would this newfound connection withstand the trials ahead? What would happen when their stories collided with the reality of their lives? Before he could delve too deeply into his thoughts, the crowd erupted into applause. "Chili feast!" One voice shouted, bringing an unexpected wave of jubilation. Laughter spilled out, sweeping away shadows of doubt, yet, even amid this camaraderie, Charlie couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was only just beginning. Deep down, he knew they were all about to face a moment that would test their newfound bond. As the night unfolded and the laughter echoed into the starry sky, a distant rumble caught his ear again. He turned to see headlights approach, feeling his heart quicken what awaited them next. The headlights belonged to a small convoy of vehicles, their engines humming with an unmistakable determination. Charlie felt a thrill run through him, a mix of excitement and apprehension. Who else was coming to join the celebration? He stepped forward, higher hopes stirring in his chest. As the vehicles rolled to a stop, familiar faces appeared. Friends from the neighborhood, the kind souls he had fed and shared wisdom with through the years. They poured out of the cars, arms filled with bags and boxes, the smell of fresh food wafting through the air. "We heard there's a feast happening," one of them shouted, and the atmosphere shifted once again, filling with laughter and friendship. Charlie's heart soared. He turned to the crowd. Look! Look at what happens when we come together," he shouted, hands raised high. The community exploded with joy, relief seeping into the corners of their hearts. But the festive reunion wasn't just about food, it was about nurturing connections that had been absent for far too long. As the newcomers were welcomed among the laughter and cheers, Charlie felt the ground shift under his feet. This was the moment. It was a harvest not only of food but of connections, memories, and friendships that enriched their lives. Yet, in the back of Charlie's mind lingered familiar fears. Could this love, this unity, last? Would the bonds they forged withstand life's coming storms? The evening unfolded with more stories shared over warm bowls of chili, dance-offs breaking the air, and music cascading into the night, illuminating moments of sheer delight. But then, just as Charlie settled into this blissful space, a shadow loomed once again. The newcomers, who had first brought concern, spoke up amidst the festivities, their eyes pleading for recognition. "Our families have been struggling for so long," one woman finally admitted, her voice trembling. "We want to be part of this, too. We see how happy you all are, and we want to know how can we be included. The crowd fell silent. For a moment, the weight of their reality settled over them like a heavy blanket, and Charlie felt those familiar pangs of uncertainty claws at his heart. But as he looked into the faces around him, something ignited within him, a fire fueled by the moments they had shared, the laughter and the joy that filled the air. "You're more than welcome here. Everyone belongs," he exclaimed, his voice rising above the silence. "Let us join forces. We can create something bigger together, an open space where all stories matter." With those words of acceptance, chatter resumed, and the crowd began to buzz with excitement. Here was their chance to intertwine their lives, to build a future where they all belonged. The woman who had first spoken nodded slowly, tears brimming in her eyes. "Together, we can make this something beautiful." And then, just as Charlie felt their spirits lift, the melody of a motorcycle engine rumbled to life nearby. The bikers turned, curious again, as another rider pulled up, this time a woman in a bright pink leather jacket, popping off her helmet to reveal a beaming smile. "I heard about the feast and had to come," she exclaimed, leaping from her seat and racing toward the crowd. Intentionally or not, her infectious laughter drew all eyes toward her, igniting further smiles and connection. For every new face that arrived, new stories mingled with laughter and tears of joy, each interaction breathing life into a community willing to embrace. Just as the rain from the previous day had given way to radiant sunshine, Charlie felt this surge of warmth wrap around him, like an embrace from a long-lost friend. In this moment, it didn't matter how many storms awaited them, each person present shared a bond that no rainfall could wash away, a bond forged through their collective determination to embrace humanity. As the night deepened, Charlie looked around, breathing in the smells of spicy chili and sweet music, his heart swelling with gratitude. "This is just the beginning," he shouted, raising his arms high. "We each have a story that deserves to be told. Together, let us create a community where everyone feels seen and loved." The energy surged, a seemingly infinite loop of hope pulsed through his words. The crowd responded, echoing in unison, "Together." The air buzzed with promise. In that moment, Charlie knew, they could and would weather whatever storms came their way. They were no longer just individuals straining through life, they had become a family, united not by their past, but by their courage to step forward into a brighter future. And it was exhilarating. Now's the moment to take action. You need to subscribe now to catch more incredible stories like this. Leave a like now to help support the algorithm, it truly makes a difference. Comment below your thoughts on this amazing transformation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this hope. Don't wait not even one more second to show your support. Only true fans understand the power of community and connection.